This is Take Two.
Róisín,
Hello.
how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm not too bad.
Yeah, we've been talking for quite a while now. It's been a long time coming.
It's been what?
Nearly a year, dare we say?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You had a surgery recently, eh?
Recently enough, yeah. So I would have had like more of a procedure than a surgery in my head. So I've had major surgeries before, and recently I've just finished a round of radiation, and then I had like minor kind of brain surgery. Yeah, so in my head it seems like a small surgery in comparison to some of the bigger ones.
Okay. And what did they do recently?
So recently it's called, so it's hard to explain to other people. So basically what they do is there's nerves within your brain and they ablate them, or they basically sever them, that lesion them to stop pain receptors. So in your brain, to stop the pain receptors going from your brain to your face where you feel the pain.
Okay. So is there like numbness somewhere now?
Completely, yeah. Actually, like at this stage, the right side of my face is paralyzed.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like, some people don't notice it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
notice it. I'm quite
Okay,
aware.
I'm trying to like look at your face now just to like see, but is it?
If you notice, like,
Okay.
that eyebrow doesn't move.
Oh my God. It's like you got like a really like a Botox job.
Well,
nearly.
they did Botox as well. So they
Okay.
actually, so they can do Botox medicinally. So because I'd be quite expressive, I talk with my hands, I talk with my face.
Yeah.
But that can cause pain. So the more you move your face with a condition like mine, the more pain it can cause. So that was becoming a problem. So I've had so much Botox done now, but only on one side of the face.
And was it done by like surgeon, like
Yeah,
doctors,
it
or
was
did you
done-
go
yeah.
over to like
No, but like every
Okay.
time he's done it, I've been like, would you not just do the other side, like to even it out?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's gonna happen when you get wrinkles now?
On this side, I know. I'll probably just get it evened out
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
But yeah, so that was the
Oh
last
my
thing that I
God.
got done. And it's going well. It's going well so far.
Not too bad. And how was radiation?
It's tough. Yeah, radiation's tough. I always find radiation the hardest. It's just the after effects of it. You can feel it affects your mood as well as something that isn't often reported. It can really kind of, I don't know, it can bring down feelings of kind of, low confidence, low energy. And I think that's the hardest part there. So it doesn't hurt. Like I don't find the radiation particularly painful. But it's more the mental effects. And then stuff like your hair, you can lose your hair.
Yeah.
And
Is
things
it like similar to chemo?
well, they
Ish.
use radiation to
Yeah.
treat cancer as well, so it can be used in many different situations. But it would be similar.
Grand. Okay, perfect. Now, before we get into all of this, right? What do you have? Because we were just talking about like all of this
Randomly,
kind
I
of stuff.
presume, and everybody actually knows. So I have a condition called trigeminal neuralgia, and then I have two other conditions. So I have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome.
Oh.
So they're separate. They're separate to the trigeminal neuralgia.
Oh wow.
But with chronic illness, it's often, they say that it comes in, you don't just get one chronic illness. So when you're diagnosed with something like trigeminal neuralgia, often there will be other factors in play. So fibromyalgia is very common among people with trigeminal neuralgia. Or it can be vice versa. Do you know, somebody with MS can end up with trigeminal neuralgia. They all interlink. So initially I would have been diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia, and then that's when we kind of figured out that there was other stuff going on within my body that didn't feel right.
Okay.
So I was supposed to explain trigeminal neuralgia. It's a rare brain condition and it's a nerve condition. So it's the cranial nerves. It's a malfunction of the cranial nerves. It can be caused by different factors, but in my case, it would be blood vessels that are constricted by other blood vessels pushing down on one another, and that causes the intense pain. So yeah, it's quite, actually they call it the worst pain known to mankind. I've never experienced anything like it. Like, I would consider my pain threshold fairly strong. And I just remember the first time that I felt that pain. Like, I don't think I'll ever be, you can't even put it into words. It's just, it almost feels like electric, like this electric wire. I can't even. I'm struggling to think of the words to describe it.
Mm.
And it's just this pain that like it's debilitating. Yeah, it's.
And what was the first time that pain hit you?
So,
Like,
yeah.
when did it happen? Where? What?
So with me, it was gradual. So in the beginning, it was just actually, it's kind of funny. So the first time that I knew, kind of saw signs that something was up, I went on a night out. Like I was back working at my old job. I hated it. Like I was running myself into the ground. Like I was just constantly overworking myself and going out not every night, but like every
Okay.
weekend.
What were you doing at that time?
I was working in insurance.
All right.
And it just wasn't the career path for me. It just
Yeah.
wasn't, I don't know, accidentally I just ended up in this job. And like at the time, like I had great friends and, you know, that was all fine. Like I liked the office, but I just looking back, I'm like, how did you even do that? It doesn't seem like me.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone on such a journey since being diagnosed that it doesn't feel like me, like it doesn't feel like my life. But we went on a night out with all the people from work, and it was a great night out. And then I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh my God, I can't move one side of my face. And I was like, something's like not right here. Then I was thinking, oh, like you're really hungover. You could just be dehydration. Like, don't be freaking anybody out. Like, I didn't want to alarm anybody. But I was like, this isn't normal. So I get left it a day, and then the next day my family were like, no, Róisín, that's not normal. So I went to the hospital, and they said that I had a condition called Bell's palsy. So that's what it causes. Like,
people usually think, especially at your young age.
Yeah. So it was facial paralysis. And at the beginning, it didn't hurt at all. Like there was no pain from that, but my eyesight was kind of and the right side of the face was kind of going, and my eye had drooped over. So I was off work for a month with that, and it resolved itself. And I went back to work. This would have been in August of 2019. I went back to work in the October. So I took the month of September off, and then I went back. And in the run up to Christmas, I was just really busy in work. But then I noticed pain start creeping up, and it was at first it was subtle, and then it was gradually building and building. And I had a chronic migraine every single day. Going to work, but I kept telling myself, no, it's fine. Like everything's fine. Keep going. It's kind of like an Irish thing. It's like, oh, you're grand. Like, and I just lived off like coffee and sheer will, like, and just kept going. And then on the 23rd of December 2019, I went on a night out with people from work again. And I remember it was a great night out. And I left my office that day, and I haven't been back since. So from there, it all just exploded.
Yeah.
My whole journey with illness from there, just
23rd December.
23rd of December 2019.
Your Christmas present.
Yeah.
Right
I
before
remember.
the pandemic, literally.
And this is where so that's what happened. Essentially, it was just the worst time to get sick was during a pandemic. But like nobody really knew. Like December of 2019, we weren't really thinking of the pandemic. No. I don't think it was like...
it was just like a little bit of a chitter chatter.
It was a murmur.
Like, what's happening over in China, kind of.
Yeah, but nobody was concerned. Like I know I wasn't. I know any of my friends, like coronavirus wasn't something that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was this illness that I got, and this like excruciating pain that I was feeling every single day. And I went to my GP, like after he opened, so they shut for Christmas for a really long time. It's ridiculous, actually. And I wasn't going to go to hospital again because they find it hard to deal with problems like this. The hospital just kind of be like, oh, you're fine. And the
MRI is fine, so like whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And they just kind of let it go. So I went to my GP, but my own GP, he was fantastic. Actually, he's from around here, but he was fantastic, my own GP. But I think he was abroad doing like work. Like he helps out in different countries. He does like that and whatever you call it. So there was a different doctor there filling in his place, and I was explaining everything. And like I'd been in hospital, like I'd been hospitalized a couple of times in the lead up to this appointment, and I'd been out of work for a month. Like, and this doctor was so dismissive. He was like, "Oh, it's PMS, so it's hormones." He was like, "Oh, all women get headaches," and I was like, "No, but you don't understand. Like, I've had a headache, and not just a headache, like an excruciating headache, for the past, like, we're talking now, October to January, non-stop."
Yeah.
And he just prescribed me paracetamol and was
Stop.
like, yeah, and just sent me away. But like it could, like looking back at the time, I wouldn't have known what advocacy was, and standing up for your rights, and like I would now, like I would go into appointments now with like literally a notebook full.
That, and also I think it's so important what you just said there, where I think us, like regular folk, let's say, or uneducated in this sense, you always take the doctor's word for it.
100%.
If he said it's grand, then it's, or she said it's grand, then it's grand. Who am I, like, what grounds am I on to be like, no, you're wrong?
Exactly. So you feel in a position like that, you feel, oh, if the doctor's telling me everything's fine, it's fine.
Yeah, I have to get over it.
It wasn't, and like, not to undermine this man, but I just don't like him. So I was like, I know this man is not telling me the truth, so I'm going to wait for my own doctor to come back, and I'm going to see him. And then when my own doctor came back, I visited him, and he was like appalled. He was like, this could be anything. This could be a tumor. This could be like, I can't believe nothing has been done. And this was, I think, it would have been the end of February now, 2020. So he sent me for scans to see what was up, and then I got diagnosed with the trigeminal neuralgia, so we knew now exactly what it was. And like, he just apologized. Was like, I can't believe, like, this is a horrendous condition. I can't believe we weren't able to catch it sooner. But it wasn't for lack of trying on his part. He really did. He's done amazing stuff for me. But then the pandemic happened, and it was like, anybody that had an illness, it stopped. Like, they just put down the shutters, and like, there was no treatment available. Like, I was waiting to see a consultant, and he called me maybe 5 separate times in the evening time. It was like, because of COVID, we can't see you, and just kept going on and on. So eventually I paid to go see a private consultant, and paid for all my treatment myself, because I was like, I just can't. I had to.
You had no choice. Yeah. And also, first of all, what the fuck is it? So your head is spiraling. Yeah. Google, of course, there's all this information, YouTube, whatever, but like, this is a tough disease to deal with.
Really bad. Like, and my mental health was never good to begin with. Like, I always had depression and anxiety since I was a teenager. Like, so this was a whole new other thing.
And the pandemic too.
The pandemic was happening. And at the same time, I was like, well, this is horrible. This global pandemic is happening. But there's a selfish part of you that's thinking, but what about the rest of us that are sick and that need treatment too? This doesn't make sense. Like, we can't just...
Your life can't be put on hold.
To the detriment of, like, so many people will have died from things not related to COVID because they were neglected during that period of time.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's hard. I was very lucky that I got to see an amazing neurosurgeon. Yeah. And he basically noticed that there was something wrong, and he was going to do brain surgery. Okay. So this was the first time. So I was like, oh my God, like, this is insane. Like, I'm going to have somebody literally cutting into my brain. Yeah. Like, that's
the most invasive thing of all.
It is. Like,
for anyone.
They take a bit of your skull away. Like, it's actually, I had to kind of, in my head, the only way to get through it was to be like, to be really okay with it. Like, to a point where people were like, how does that not freak you out? I almost came outside of my own body and was pretending that I was like this third or like second person. So like, it wasn't my brain.
Would you say that you nearly had to like let go of control in that moment where you're like, whatever happens?
Yeah, completely. Like, you make peace with whatever is going to happen, you know, because you have to make some serious, tough decisions before you go in to have brain surgery. Like, you have to basically give somebody the power of attorney over your body, that if something happens, like,
it's you. Yeah. It's you in there, you know?
Yeah, what I mean? But I had to say, like, I don't want to be resuscitated. If something happens, I don't want to be at the time. Like, they're hard decisions to be making.
Oh yeah, you're like crying when signing off the thing.
But I wasn't, and this was the thing.
Oh my God.
I don't think I cried. Now I get emotional about it, but I don't think at the time, like, I ever, like, my family, like, I'd hear my mom crying herself to sleep at night, but like, I wouldn't be crying, which is, it's because I think your family and your friends, it hits them more.
The helplessness, eh?
Yeah, because they can't do anything. With me, I'm like, oh, this is my life, I have to get on with it. Yeah. But for them, they're just like a bystander.
Would you nearly say that you were happy that you got an answer at least? Because your fight to figuring out what it was so tough.
Completely. I'm really sad that it had to be this condition, but I've also made peace with, how do I word it? Like, everybody in their life we all have a different path that we're going to walk. This is my path. This was what was meant to happen in my life. Some people might think it's a religious thing. For me, it's spiritual. Or I always believe that, you know, if this didn't happen to me, I could have walked out on the street and got hit by a car. Do you know? Like,
Yeah, it's your fate.
it's my fate. Like, I'm not saying just because other people have it more difficult than me that it invalidates my experience. It doesn't at all. And same for people that say, oh, I shouldn't be complaining about this headache because I know how bad you have it. I always say, no, your feelings and experiences are valid too. Like,
Yeah. And you also don't know what's next,
No.
homie.
And this is, yeah.
That's the thing.
That
It's so
is
true.
where, yeah. So my kind of, it took, I've been through just 2 brain surgeries and I've had a spinal cord implant, and we'd be here all day if I was to go through all the procedures.
What was the spinal cord one for though?
So
Like,
it's called a neurostimulator. So it goes into your back and then up through your spinal cord into your brain, and
stop.
it stimulates the brain and basically stops the pain receptors.
Okay.
But even with that, like, that can take away people's chronic pain, which is fantastic. Like, it's cutting edge science here. Like, some people it's making them
they're
pain free.
Geniuses.
Oh, it's like,
oh my
and
God.
you control it off an iPhone. Like,
Stop.
yeah. Like, it's so high tech. Like, and it's fantastic. But even that doesn't. It's only taken away. It's done massive work for my fibromyalgia and my fatigue, but the brain condition, it's like trigeminal neuralgia is one of these conditions that there is no cure right now, and even little like things like that are major, but they're not curing it. It's barely
No.
making a dent in the pain. Do you know?
Yeah.
So much more needs to be done. There needs to be awareness around it. Like, some of my friends still can't pronounce the condition. And I don't blame them. Like, I'm not.
No, in fairness, trigeminal neuralgia.
Yeah, and like, I would have never known what
Does
it
it
was.
go like TN?
TN, that's what I
TN.
call it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you
easier.
have to.
And my family call it that because it's just the easiest
Yeah.
way to. But see, there's 2 different types. So there's normal TN and there's atypical. So atypical is when you have the pain all the time.
Okay.
Normal TN, it can happen one excruciating flare that could literally like hospitalize you, and then it could go away for a few weeks.
Wow.
So you never know when it's going to hit. But people that have that type of TN can work and they can kind of get on with their life.
Okay.
For people like me, when you have the atypical TN, you can't. Like, there's no way I'd be able to go in and do. Not that. I'd
So
want
are
to
you
do
just
my
like
whole job.
always in pain?
Oh, constantly. Like, even right now, I'm in pain. And
Oh my God.
yeah, it's hard for people to realize that because I've gotten so used to it. In the beginning, I couldn't I couldn't cope with it, and I really was like, I don't think I'm gonna make I can't last with this pain. You do adapt and you do become accustomed to it. Like,
It's kind of like if you have like a needle stuck in you all the time, nearly, then you get used to it.
completely, like, you get used to that level of discomfort.
And what kind of discomfort is it, or pain?
So I always have like a migraine. So like a normal migraine that you get, say if like you're really hungover and you have a splitting headache, that kind of pain all the time. And then throughout the day, I'll get shocks of pain that feel kind of like, you've probably never electrocuted. Have you ever put your finger in a socket or no?
No, I've gotten that. My brother, when we were younger, made me lick a battery.
Yeah, so that would be the kind of shock, the jolt.
Not fun. Not
No.
fun.
So
No.
it's like
Don't
that.
lick batteries, just in case. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, so it's like that, but on a much higher level, just kind of pulsating through your head, your face, and down into your neck all the time.
And what does your iPhone do then?
The neurostimulator, that's to counteract that.
Okay.
So if I'm going through a particularly bad episode, you're not to use it all the time because it's always working in the background.
Okay. But like extra, you know?
Yeah. So if it's a really, really bad flare where like I can't get out of bed, like it's that bad, you can amp that up. But even at that, that's only taking about 10% of the pain away.
Shit.
So you're still relying on medication, on different, therapy, on all these procedures. Like, I am at a stage now where I'm like, I actually don't think I can go through another medical procedure, like for the next while, for my own headspace, because the medical trauma that that it gets to a stage where you feel like your body actually isn't your own. I feel like I'm literally going into this hospital as like I don't know, like a test subject or something, like this body that people are working on, and I'm not.
Everything is not guaranteed because it's such early stages in terms of
exactly. And I mean, in the beginning, I was willing to try everything that came my way.
Yeah.
And I was like, every single treatment, I was like, yeah, do it. But I'm starting to get to a stage now where I'm like, am I doing more harm than good? Are these treatments, if they're not offering me much pain relief, are they really worth putting my body through that
Yeah.
physical, like even going under anesthetics, like so often.
Oh yeah.
Like I was going under anesthetic every 3 weeks. Like,
oh, stop. No, like I would have had like 3 surgeries in my life, and my reaction to anesthetic was pure, like nearly like seizure, like panic attacks whenever I woke up.
mm-hmm.
And that was just waking up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So any procedure, there is that risk to it. And then it's also kind of like, probably with time and with experience, which I think is just so interesting when you bring context into it, is you're probably more patient now.
Oh,
I
yeah,
would say,
completely.
where it's like, oh, there's this new like study, there's this new drug, I can wait. You know,
Exactly.
come back to me in 6 months, come back to me in a year.
Completely.
I'm still gonna be here.
Yeah. In the beginning, I remember every week I'd email my job and they'd be like, I'll be back next week. I'll be back next week. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, it's only going to be another week. Now I send them an email every 3 or 4 weeks or months. Sorry. And they know, like, listen, my health is coming first. I'm not.
Yeah. So you're on like paid leave or
Well,
something?
I'm not on paid leave. I'm just on leave. Like
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even say they remember who I am, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
you're replaceable. In a
If you
company.
were to go back, like,
Yeah, you're replaceable in a company. That's why, and I have, like, I much prefer the person I am now. I've learned so much from this illness that if you were like, oh, I'd give you a time machine and you could go back before all started, I wouldn't take it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you actually, because I had Andy Quinn on, who had a stroke at 28.
Yeah.
And I found it so interesting. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. Who were you before the, like, not the stroke, sorry. Who were you before and who are you now?
Yeah, so before, I wouldn't say, like, at the age it happened,
Yeah, how old were you?
I would have been, God, how many? 3 years ago? So I'm 26 now. I would have been 22 or 23. I think I was 22 actually, yeah, because of the way it works out. So I was young, although, yeah, I was young enough, like, and like, it's not like I disliked the person I was then. I'd definitely made a lot of growth from my teenage years up to that point, but I don't think I was happy, and I don't think I was content with who I was as a person. Like, I definitely didn't. I'm not going to say I didn't love myself, but no, maybe I didn't actually. Like, I didn't have I have an awful lot of respect for my body now. Whereas then I would have saw my body as, something that, oh, you're too fat. Oh, you need to lose weight. Oh, you need to change this and this and this. Whereas now I'm like, my body is so powerful. Like, it has gotten me through the most horrendous things. And every single day it endures the most unbearable pain that causes so many people to take their own lives. And yet here I am, and I'm still going. Like, how could I ever hate that body or that person? Like, that's like, I'm so grateful for the strength that I have found along the way. Whereas back when I was 22, I would have been thinking of things like really superficial things. Like, would have been like, oh, my lips are too small, or, oh, I need to get I'd love to get my lips done, or it was all of it was about how I looked and how other people viewed me. Whereas now I really couldn't care less what other people think of me, and I love that.
Yeah,
I really love that, because it's so empowering, it's so freeing when you just let other people's opinions don't matter, because I know who I am and I know how strong I am, and that's something that I don't think I would have been in this place right now if I hadn't have got sick.
How do you feel about the fact that it had to be a diagnosis?
To make me understand that, yeah.
Because I feel like everyone has that turn, usually anyways, they have a drastic or dramatic moment where then it's like, oh, this actually doesn't matter.
I think we take life for granted. I do. I think it's not that we take life for granted. We know we have so much, but we take it for granted. It's perspective. So I think back then my world was so small, and I would have liked to think I was open-minded, but I probably wasn't. And I think once something like this happens, you open your eyes and you see the world through a different lens, and you see, you see it's not even just the things that you see, it's the people. You see the people who stood by and the people that I haven't spoken to. since I left the office. No shame, but to those people, don't feel guilty. You're on your own journey too. But like,
As in, not everyone's going to check up on you. You know what I mean?
No,
Exactly.
but like, you see people that are in your life, because I give an awful lot to people that I care about and that I love. Like I do. I'm very supportive, and I always show up for people, you know, or try hype them up. So I kind of, now I know that I deserve that back.
Yeah.
I feel like in situations it has to be give and take. Before I would have been all give, and I wouldn't have cared how people treated me back, because it would just like any kind of attention would be
too much, kind of.
Yeah.
I know. It's so weird when you actually think about it. I'm trying to get the words right, but it would probably be along the lines of, oh, you know, if I do this, then they will like give me the attention that I want, or that I think I want. Let's put it that way. Eventually. When in reality, sometimes just like observe people for who they are, and just you're not going to change them. Accept them. Yeah, because look, naturally, if you are someone that like is very vocal about the people in your life, and like you're a supportive person, some people are just not. They're not douchebags, but they're just like shy, you know? I just don't want to like be too much, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, it's just about taking that step back and going, okay, it is what it is, boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we'll just carry on with life in this way.
Exactly. And then you know who you can depend on too. And I know the friends that, you know, really stuck by me. And my friendship group is really small.
That's what I was going to ask you. Usually it's always the case.
Yeah. Like
under 5 or under 10? Nearly.
I don't want to offend anybody. So
you don't need to mention that.
I would say there's probably under 5 that are top consistently, where like I'm there for them, they're there for me. Then I have loads of acquaintances. I'm not sure for friends. Like I have loads and loads of acquaintances, but I don't know if, you know, I don't give out as, whereas before I wanted to be everybody's friend. So this is the way to put it. I wanted to be everybody's friend, whereas now I'm happy.
You have to be your friend now.
Yeah. I have to be my own best friend and invest in the people that I think are really important. And
exactly.
It's nice to keep your world small sometimes.
Was it hard for your friends and your family to navigate your like you and this diagnosis and fatigue?
Yeah, completely. Like for your friends, it's, I suppose they've never experienced it. We're all experiencing it for the first time. So my friends, they would have took it hard, and they would have been upset, and they would have been nervous anytime I went in for surgery. You know, they were waiting for somebody to text to say that I was in ICU or that everything was fine. And then my family, my family are fantastic, and they're really well informed on it now. But I've been very vocal from the beginning about informing them on exactly what the condition is. And, you know, even online, it's that's what I don't think I'd have made it this far without like Instagram and the online community, because that community is just phenomenal. And I post so openly and honestly on my Instagram account that my family actually, through watching it, they've learned so much about the illness. And they, like, I love it now when people are like, oh, I followed somebody who has the same condition as you, because I know then they're eager, they want to find out about my condition and understand it more, and not just from my own perspective, through other people as well.
Yeah, vulnerability helps. Yeah, you know, it helps in education, and I think it's always just, you can always look up definitions, you can always look up what the people are feeling, but you have to like listen to them. And I think what's super important about, if you're up for it, of course, but the fact that you are using Instagram nearly as a diary, your parents and your like close friends can find out stuff about you, without any filters, without asking you about it and feeling awkward about it, or vice versa, you not feeling awkward about it. It's amazing. It's just there. Take it as you wish. It's objective to a certain extent.
It's amazing. Number one, I don't have the the energy all the time to text every single family member and let them know how today's appointment went. So I post it on Instagram and people will see it then. Yeah. And they know. And then
They can check in whenever
They
too.
can check in
'cause
whenever.
sometimes it can be too much for them.
Yeah, it can be too much for them, so they can pick it up and then it means that even like I follow other people's illness journeys online that I've never met, and they live on the other side of the world, but we communicate and we message with one another, and that's fantastic. Like, and people like that really keep you going, because you feel so alone in the beginning. You feel so isolated and so lonely, and I know now that I'm not alone. Like, 15% of the world are disabled. Like, that's
How many?
15%.
Stop.
Yeah, because we always see disabled as a physical thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many invisible illnesses.
Yeah. That's what I was actually going to go into next, because I think it's super important to talk about that. But would you have had any moment where someone didn't understand you or didn't like empathize with your situation and made you feel very uncomfortable?
Yeah, all the time, to be honest. Like, I get dirty looks. Like, if I'm out somewhere and I have to use a disabled bathroom, like, and I have to use it because I can't stand in long queues. Like, I just haven't got the strength, like, I haven't got the energy. I'm much better now, but in the early days, I wouldn't have been like, and people would give you dirty looks, or sometimes they would say stuff to you. Or there was this judgment that I was getting. So, like, I didn't want to put my life on hold, and just because I'm sick, I didn't want to stop living life. So if I went on a night out, like, people were like, "Oh, are you better now?" And I'm like, "Why?" Because I went on one night out that's going to take me 2 weeks to recover from, and people think that I'm healed. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that. But just because I don't look sick doesn't mean I'm not, and just because I have one good day does not mean that it's, I'm better. Like,
Yeah. And also, it's kind of like, what's harder to do? Go out with people that you love and laugh a little bit, or go to a desk and sit down and work for 9 hours? No.
And exactly. But see, the thing with work is that's a commitment. So
Yeah.
showing up to work is,
You're not going to do like a side gig for an insurance company.
no, whereas with like a night out, I can leave at any time. If I'm
Yeah.
in immense pain, I can leave straight there. Like, just get up and leave. Like, and to be honest, I don't go out often. Like, I really don't. I'm getting better now because I'm more involved, and I'm doing more stuff. But in the early days, there was months on end where I didn't leave my house.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Which it's just, at one stage I was what you would call like it's an ambulatory wheelchair user. So essentially, people don't just presume if you're in a wheelchair your legs don't work, which isn't true. So I would have needed a wheelchair in certain situations. I wouldn't have had the strength to walk for long journeys, or like, for example, in the airport, I wouldn't make it to like the gate.
And that's because, like, is the brain nerve just like
No,
shutting
so
down
that's
your
the
leg?
fibromyalgia as
Okay.
well. So that's the pain within my body. So fibromyalgia is a condition where it's widespread, kind of, how do you explain it? It's like you feel numbness in your body, kind of bruised feeling all throughout your body, and the chronic fatigue.
Okay.
So I would have relied on it. That would have been probably in the first year and a half on a wheelchair for that, or after any major surgery. Like, so they call it an ambulatory wheelchair user. Can't remember where I was going with that.
You were just talking about invisible illness and people not understanding.
Oh, the wheelchair thing. So
Yeah.
I think I was getting to the point where, it was actually in Dublin Airport, and I actually don't care if the man gets in trouble because
Go on.
I reported him. So it was Christmas, and I was going away for the Christmas, and I'd just had the spinal surgery done 3 weeks before, and I wasn't meant to fly into actually for a month, but I was like, I'll be fine, I'm on the cusp. But there was no way. I just had spinal surgery that I was making it through the airport. It did not mean that I cannot get out of the wheelchair. I'm not paralyzed. Like, I was able to get out of it, but I can't walk long journeys. So I got out of the wheelchair at some point, and the man in the wheelchair was like, "Oh, look, it's a miracle she can walk." And he was like a man working in the airport security.
Oh my God.
And I was like, how uneducated can you be? Like, number one, who makes comments like that? And I don't blame people not being educated, because I didn't know the full picture of disability.
Yeah, but also just, ew.
Why?
Was
Yeah.
that funny to you?
To him, maybe.
Literally. Probably no one laughed just out of sheer awkwardness.
Like, it was, he was an awful man. He made other comments as well,
Yeah.
like racist comments about other passengers. I did report the man, but it was just like, what do you gain from that? Like, there's nothing that you gain from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and those comments, like, stick with you. They spiral in your head. I should have said
Yeah.
this. I should have like done that.
They do. And also, there's another thing that I believe in as well. Sometimes, like, the not fighting with strangers on the internet thing is a big one of mine. I see people doing it all the time and I never do it because I feel like it's a waste of time. Some people can't be educated if on a matter.
Oh, they decide to be idiots.
Yeah.
That is a decision, in my opinion.
Definitely. Like, I can try advocate as much as I want and I can try bring awareness, but if there's people who aren't willing to listen, that's fine. And there always will be that percentage of people. But for the community, for the disabled community, I just think it's really important. Sometimes we're thought of as an afterthought. And I would have never understood what it was like had I not ended up with a disability myself.
Was it tough for you to accept the word disabled?
Yes. Yeah. So that was a big one. So after a certain amount of time, it's no longer an illness. It becomes disabling. So it is a disability. But I'd always say, and it's so, I look back and I'm like, how offensive was this? But I'd say, oh, well, I'm not really disabled. Like, I look back, I'm like, Róisín, why were you saying that? Disabled is not a bad word. It's not a bad word. I don't know why but we have connotations in society that it is a bad word. Like, which is, it's crazy.
I know.
But I was like, oh, you're not really disabled, though, with a wink and a nudge. And I don't know what I was winking and nudging about because I am, like.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm not as disabled as this person and that, and then it goes back into
like,
comparing
disability
your
is a spectrum. Like,
struggles.
there's so many different disabilities and they all come under, do you know, there's invisible disabilities and we are making strides with the community. We're getting somewhere. Like, Transport for Ireland just launched the Please Offer Me a Seat campaign.
Oh yeah.
Which is for people who don't look like they have a disability, which is a lot of disabled people, but still can't stand for long periods of time. They now have a card and a badge for anybody in that position so that you can basically say, listen, I need to sit down. And that was one Instagram page. A girl, she's Invisible Disabilities Ireland, I think is their handle. But she lobbied for that and she got that campaign taken out. Like, do you know, these are small little grassroots things that we can all just keep working and pushing for, you know, equality, for better. Like, the system's broken when it comes to disabled people.
How is it broken?
We push, I feel anyway, disabled people into a category of, no, you can't work, you know, you have a disability, and push them off to the side. The structures in place on I suppose a social welfare kind of government level can be quite exclusionary. You can have a disability and you can work up to a certain amount of hours, but then after that you can't, you know, claim disability. And it's basically pushing disabled people into abject poverty. So we're saying if you're disabled, you have to live in poverty, and unless you are lucky and you're a wealthy disabled person.
I know. I find those things so ridiculous where it's like you need that extra help, but then if you're actually working for yourself, like when you're making this money by yourself, you don't need our help anymore. When in reality, it's like, no, I need the time to keep pushing so that then eventually, if you want to get off of welfare, fair play. I'm sure that everyone wants to get off of welfare.
I mean, like, our government demonises, well, at the moment, they demonise people on welfare and they want us all to be suspect of people on welfare.
Suspect, or it's like you either stay on welfare, or if you're going to start working, we're not going to help you anymore because you can do it.
So
and
we'll
it's
cut
like,
you off from the...
We'll cut you off. And it's so silly because... Hello, housing crisis, number one. You know what I mean?
The country's in tatters. Like, it's quite literally, it's on fire.
Yeah.
Like, it's burning to the ground. So, like, I understand that I'm coming from a very small part of...
Oh, yeah, but like
community.
Students as well, you know, like, I'm completely different thing, but it's like, if you are getting help for being a student, the moment that you work past like you're making 600 euros a month, your grant is gone. What are you going to do with 600 euros a month? Groceries are expensive now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, we have people are terrified going into this winter, terrified
oh my God.
of how they're going to survive. Like, and the elderly, you know, people with illnesses, carers for people with disabilities. Like, it's not just people with disabilities. You do have carers as well, and carers keep this country afloat. Like, they save the government millions,
Countless.
so
They're
much
basically
money.
nurses. They're basically
They are
nurses.
doing the jobs, you know, they're doing the job for the government, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
treat them with so little regard. It's upsetting, like,
It's horrible.
and that we have people worried about, you know, heating their homes and buying food, like in 2022 in a wealthy country.
Yeah, Ireland is rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
There is no reason, there's no rhyme or reason for it.
mhm.
And I do think now is time for, so obviously I'm coming from the disabled community and
Yeah.
the social inclusion aspect, and that's something that I'm pushing for and advocating for within society. But we need the people of Ireland right now to just mobilise and to come together, because we're only strong when we're all together, you know?
Yeah, I saw that TikTok recently. Did you see it? Of you guys just refused to pay your water bills?
Oh,
I didn't know about that.
Oh, the water bills. Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2013 or 14.
Oh, yeah.
Who though?
Yeah, that was just like a...
Yeah, explain that to me. So what
I
happened?
think what happened. Jeez, I'm probably going to make a...
For
mess
like,
this
from
there was
what I watched,
protests.
it was like a protest, but like the government was like, okay, you guys are going to start paying water. And everyone was like,
yeah,
no.
it was...
People were getting arrested. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and it was the same, I think, we tried with bin charges, and that just got passed. But the water thing, yeah.
The water thing.
I remember the water bill process. And they were putting in meters, like, to basically measure how much water you're using on the streets.
Okay.
And people were just out, and the amount of people who came together to oppose that. And then they had to step back because there were too many people were objecting to it, you know. The same way, I always say we have such big solidarity and people power within Ireland. We just need to get everybody together. For like, this is, if you look at the marriage referendum, the repeal the 8th,
yeah,
the amount of people we had out protesting, we have the people. We just all need to take to the streets and really just get our voices and opinions out there, that we're not going to take any more of this.
What do you think will happen though? I come from a country, obviously, where protests essentially don't do that massive of an effect. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of protests do happen over here. What do you think is the tipping point between, you know what, this is it. This is what's going to make the change?
That's a good question. I genuinely don't know. I'd be speculating, really.
Yeah.
I think the government always feel, the current government that we have, feel that the Irish nation are complacent and that we will all just lie down on our backs and take it. And I think if they see enough people, I mean, they saw it in the last election, support was swaying. They are going to see that people have had enough of this, and people love this country, but we're squeezing them out, and we're not going to take any fucking more of this, because we want you gone. You're corrupt. You've run our country into the ground. You're watching homeless people die on the street. Like, the country is rotten to the core. I think if they start to see that people are really coming together in strong solidarity, they'll shit themselves. I do. I think they'll really go, okay, we don't have a future.
Yeah, I agree. I agree entirely. I think it's also like the moment that young people start to make a difference with their vote. I was discussing this with a few other guests, but apparently in Ireland, a lot of people don't change their vote from like their home county to where they're living. So that's one thing. And then it's also, if they moved, like if they left the country, they're not going to vote.
Yeah.
So I think right now, politicians, like the current government, are just prioritizing their niche, which is 50-year-old settled people that most likely got a property or two from the Celtic Tiger.
Yeah, 100%. They were the same generation of people that have voted them in for the past countless years.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're seeing the socio-economic and political landscape of Ireland changing. They know their days are numbered. So I think the government is pushing it to the limit and seeing how much they can get away with before they're out.
When's the next election again? 2 years or 1?
No, it's 2. I think it's 2020.
Because I feel like my first, I don't know. So I think it was my second year in Ireland or something like that. My first year in Ireland, oh, you would love this. The presidential election was happening when I arrived in Galway, right?
Okay.
First time ever I'm seeing countless of posters of people and politicians everywhere. And I remember looking at Michael D.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, he's so cute. No one's going to vote for him. Poor guy. Fuck me. He was a previous president and he got re-elected.
Yeah, I know.
I was so happy for
Yeah,
him.
the support from Michael D. Higgins. See, the presidential election, the president doesn't do very much.
Yeah. Same back home, yeah.
It's tokenist.
Political figure,
Yeah.
They sign, that's it.
Exactly. It's kind of like a figurehead of
Yeah.
person to. But the next election, good question. Do you know, I actually don't know. I'm trying to think, when did I last vote? It wasn't COVID. It would have had to be the year before.
No, I think it's 2019, something like that.
2019. So 2024 is the next one?
Probably 23, something like that. Okay, we can check. TJ? Can we figure out when the next election is, please? Just for reference, you know.
Yeah. I don't know if are they going to make it that far.
I know. I don't know. I don't.
Like, I mean, next Taoiseach would be Leo Varadkar. I don't see that happening.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that he already was, and then gave it to Micheál Fortin.
They're in a
2025.
That's what I was thinking. 25. Yeah, so it was 2020. Because we just voted before the lockdown. Yeah. So yeah, Leo Varadkar was Taoiseach. Now he's tarnished it. They're in a coalition now, so they're dividing it in two. So Micheál Martin is doing half of the time, and then it goes back to Leo. And I mean, like, it's just like this. It's like a joke now. Like, it is. It's just something that people laugh at. Like, it's
no one likes them.
No,
I think, in fairness to Leo, he's a good public speaker. Yes. I think his speeches, I remember, like, in COVID time and all that.
He doesn't write them. That's the thing.
Doesn't. No. He has an excellent writer, but he's a better speaker than Micheál is.
I think Leo Varadkar had an awful lot of the nation kind of won over and kind of swooned them.
Yeah, because I remember, like, but Leo gave us such a nice speech.
Yeah, and he was so good during
Leo.
the pandemic. But these people are only watching RTE News, which is propaganda, in my opinion. And it pushes one agenda, and that is the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael propaganda.
Isn't it owned by someone that's, like, heavily involved in that?
Like, I mean, I'm not going to say anything.
Look, I'm never going to get a guest appearance on RTE either. You know what I mean? It's fine, guys. You know, you got it.
Yeah. So I mean, their days are numbered, and I think we are going to see a new dynamic Ireland soon.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I think, looking at what happened up the north and the Stormont elections and Michelle O'Neill's success up there, I mean, I actually can't go into that because we would be here for a 3-hour podcast. Like, that's phenomenal to see a Sinn Féin leader in the north.
That's true, for sure.
That is a woman, like.
And
I mean, they can write all the trash they want about her in the newspapers, but they're not going to take away from the fact what she's achieving. Like, that's historical. To see that happening, in the occupied 6 counties is just an indicator of what could happen down south. I
completely agree that the election will be very interesting to watch.
Yeah,
for sure. I don't know if it will happen sooner. I think something really bad has to happen.
Yeah.
Like, for us, it was Panama Papers and the journalist that is no longer with us that got killed. She literally overthrew the government, you know what I mean? She released something about, like, the Prime Minister's wife, just long story short, and the government, like, collapsed, but got re-elected. So that was a very tough time in Malta mentally, where everyone was really against each other. You know how, I don't know if you follow, like, politics, but remember the time when, like, Donald Trump got elected?
Oh yeah.
And everyone was really on edge. That was Malta when that happened.
I cried when Donald Trump got elected. I cried.
Did you?
I actually cried physical tears because I was like, what is the world coming to? Like,
I think the issue with Trump, because I've looked into it actually, it's so unfortunate in my opinion, and the reason is his policies, like, were actually not that bad. They were quite good.
Right. Okay.
The man that he was such a fucking entertainer and knew how television worked and media and all that kind of stuff, that he was not responsible with the way he used his platform and the way he spoke, where even though you could give me the best tasting slice of cake, if it looks like shit on the outside,
Yeah.
that's shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because people are simple in the sense that they see what they see, and that's fucking face value, and then we're going to carry on with life. Not everyone is going to educate themselves on politics and policies and all that, which is completely fair.
Well, it'd be classist of us to presume that everybody needs to be politically motivated and politically minded.
Sometimes people couldn't care less, you know what I mean?
You're
Which
more-
is
yeah.
like, if you can't be arsed, you can't be
But
arsed.
even if you can't be arsed, if you're worried about putting food on the table, if you're worried about feeding your
Yeah,
kids,
you're not going to go like, oh,
granted, the politicians are the ones that are actually determining that, but your basic instincts is survival. So I will never shame somebody for being
No.
apolitical. All I'm saying is, in terms of in the community, come out and rally, come out and do what you can. You don't need to have an allegiance to a political party. You don't need to pick one party. You don't need to follow politics. You don't need to be educated on how the system works. That's fine. But just have some. We're all passionate. Everybody in Ireland loves to bitch and, oh God, if all this, Fine Gael that, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but like, even if you don't have a strong political motivation, just if we all just come together, we can achieve stuff.
Yeah.
I do believe that. Like, the Irish people are great people. We're called the fighting Irish. Why aren't we fighting back? Like,
I don't know why we're not fighting back. I think it's because, like, comfort, you know what I mean? Those that have a place, like, I was not lucky, but after so many times, I managed to find like a nice place.
Yeah.
My focus right now is,
you're right, but you need to be
like,
focusing on your own life.
yeah, not even my own life, but it's kind of like, I am not going to stir any pot with said landlord, because God forbid he takes it away from me. Does that make sense?
100%.
And probably a lot of people are kind of like going, looking internally right now,
Exactly.
because the pandemic did change us a little bit. The pandemic got us all together. We're all in this together.
We weren't all in it together.
At first we were. Lockdown 1 versus lockdown 3 was a completely different story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you just go like, oh, we did this, we're going to keep doing this. Of course people are going to fight.
100%. Yeah.
And now COVID just doesn't exist.
And I always say that the government love to
Yeah.
pit neighbour against neighbour. They don't want you looking up at the government. They want you looking at the people next door.
Yeah.
Once you're worried about what your neighbours are doing and what money they're taking from the state, you're not going to be looking up to the corrupt politicians that are funneling big money.
An interesting term that I learned about over here is what's his name again? Thomas McCann. Lovely podcast, but he explained to me, it was a podcast on travelers, because he's a traveler activist.
Yeah.
He was talking to me about horizontal violence and the way that works, where when people feel helpless, they don't punch up, they punch horizontally
100%.
within their community. Hence why in traveler communities there is so much like violence within the community, and just in general, like lockdown, whatever it may be. If I don't know, but like if there is conflict within the disabled community as well, where it's like, oh, but I have this, so.
Do you know what? I've never experienced it.
Good.
That is a positive thing.
super.
I think the disabled community are more than willing to embrace one another. We just want to see a society where disabled people are not thought of as something separate from everybody else. We want equality. We want inclusion, and we want, like, the healthcare system. Disabled people are people too, and we deserve access to healthcare, and people shouldn't be left waiting on 2 or 3 year waiting lists, like for procedures that are even like, I help people with their social welfare applications, because some people within the disabled community wouldn't be very articulate, or they wouldn't, like, I'm not a great speaker, but I'm a very good writer. So I would do that for them, and I help them, and I would kind of correlate with different TDs and get their submissions done. But the way our system works, they reject you for disability about 2 or 3 times before they'll approve you. And they don't have qualified, they have a medical board, but the medical board aren't trained in these niche specifics. So, like, I know myself, I was like, no. I was like, I'm sending you in a 30-page document from my specialists. Like, I'm not having your little medical board that you think are qualified to make a decision on an
Yeah.
illness they don't know.
Okay.
I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, I will get all the paperwork. Like, I had to pay for it, like,
Mhm.
but I got it, and I got it sent in, and I had TDs back, and so I was very lucky. It was easy for me. Then I realised there's people out there that aren't that lucky. So I want to be there for them, and I want to be there for anybody who wants to reach out to me. And try do their appeals for them as best as I can.
So what is the main issue that people would be facing in this? Or is it like until you get that, not status, but like that card nearly?
Yeah, so essentially, what would it be? So your class, I suppose, with disability, it's different to illness. Some people can get sick and it's a short period of time, or maybe it's for 6 months, and that would be illness benefits. So that goes on for 2 years. After that, it stops. It completely stops, right? And the government is very bad at informing people on this. And they've made it very bureaucratic, and the whole system is very, very complicated. It's not user friendly, and it's certainly not friendly for anybody with a disability, particularly a disability that would affect somebody's cognitive function.
Okay.
It's hard to navigate.
Wow.
So the system is hard to navigate. They point you in the wrong directions. They tell you to apply for this, to apply for that. What ended up happening with me was there was a 6-month period where I had no income, like coming in from anywhere. Like, I was just left, thank God I have family, and my family are fantastic. But I was left with no income, and they were like, "Oh, if it's really that bad, go to your local welfare office and ask them for money." And I was like, "You're not going to just hand me money? Like, this is ridiculous. How is this how our country is operating? Like, so we're
sure, look, be grand."
Yeah, that is literally it. It's like, you be grand, or you might like.
I'll just tell them. just
like,
tell them your story.
It's ridiculous. Like, you might not be able to afford, your medication, or you might not be able to afford like. But you'd be grand, you'd be fine. Like, it's just the way I'm making light of it now. I thought this was going to be real serious.
But it will only make you stronger.
Yeah, it's character building. Like, ridiculous. And you would easily know that they've never been through it themselves.
Oh, for sure. They would just like call up their friend over at whichever office and like just scoot. I'm like, you're fine.
Completely. Like, the only kind of citizens' information is probably as good as you get to, getting advice. So I just like to be there to help people in situations like that. Or for anybody who just needs to chat, because it's really tough. Our mental health services, again, sorry, to another jab at the government, are in bits. So if we can do it as a community, if we can support one another, that kind of support is better than having no support. If you can't access mental health supports, having somebody that's going through the same thing to talk to is so important, so beneficial. So I always say online, anybody, and I mean it, like, I know people are always like, #be kind, you can message me whenever you want. I genuinely mean it. Like, if somebody wants to text me at 2 o'clock in the morning because they're going through something, and it doesn't have to be a physical illness, it can be a mental illness too, wants to text me, I will always reply, because I think as a community we need each other. We're a fantastic community. I think Irish people are great. I love this country. Like, I don't love it right now, but I love the country. I'm a Republican, so I love Ireland. I don't like what it's become, and I want to change that.
If you were to just envision an Ireland that embraces disabled people,
yes,
what would that look like for you?
It would be an Ireland where somebody with a disability, if they're able to work in a capacity where, so number one, we shouldn't be pushing anybody with a disability or an illness or who is a carer into poverty. That's one thing that I just don't understand. I don't understand why we put a cap on that, like a ceiling. They should be able to work to a certain capacity. We should be making allowances. Like, I remember in the beginning of my illness being like, I could definitely work from home, and there was no option for me to work from home. But then a pandemic came that was going to threaten profits within a company, and suddenly everybody was working from home. Now, the disabled community have been looking for options like that for probably about 10, 20 years to be able to work outside of the normal office structure. And it could be done literally overnight when a pandemic came. So there's no will there. There's no will to be inclusive. I mean, we're all inclusive, all these companies and corporations are all inclusive until it comes down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
They're all supporting Pride until it comes to trans rights.
Yeah.
it's tokenism. I just don't want a tokenistic society. I want a society where disabled people are treated with respect and dignity, where they get the healthcare they deserve. They're not left on waiting lists. You know, I just feel like, I don't know. It's hard to put. I don't know what I envision.
But it will be easier.
Yes, I just know we have a way to go.
I think it always comes down, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I'm gathering from you. I think communication means a lot to you, and probably you are amplifying that based on like your experience within the disabled community and people you know. Listening and that bit of transparency, and don't ignore them.
Exactly, and don't presume. I kind of want to break down the preconceptions as well of the, don't just presume because somebody looks well that they're well. Don't just presume that all disabilities look a certain way.
And probably the other way around too, where like you don't need to baby talk to someone.
No, you get that. Yeah, you get
exactly.
that as well.
It's like, probably on the other end as well.
100%. Like, we're not fragile. We're not going to break. To be honest, disabled people, from my experience, are some of the toughest, strongest people you meet. Like, you don't need to be real gentle with us either. Like, we're not looking for that. We're just looking for
sympathy. Yeah, you're not looking for that.
No, we're just looking for inclusion.
Yeah.
Just inclusion, just representation. Just to be thought about in the consultation process. Of
considered, recognised, listened to.
Just to be given a voice.
Yeah.
That's actually, to be honest, everything else aside, if anything, I just want to give the community a voice.
I agree with that. And I think it's so important because right now when it comes to decision making, probably at an official level, it's always like, oh yeah, we care about you, like we're giving you a voice, blah, 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 blah. There's just one person here. But like, are you not only letting them speak, are you taking what they're saying into consideration? Because I feel like most of the time it's very much like, oh yeah, look at our team photo.
Yeah.
Like one LGBT person. It's like, okay, but where's the difference? Are you like listening to them? Are you making that change? Or is it just like, kudos?
No, it's tokenism. It's to tick off the boxes and say that we're inclusive.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing.
And I feel like we need to let the world know. There's so many different aspects to it, but let the world know that there's so much more to a person than their disability. Their diagnosis doesn't define them. I am not trigeminal neuralgia. Like I'm not the girl with the rare brain condition. Like, there's so much more to me than that.
What is there?
What is there? I don't know. What do you think? Do you have?
I think there's a little bit of strength and quirk to you. You're communicating and vulnerability, where I'm not going to say that you're not shy, but you are very vocal about this. I think there's something in you where, you know, this case is bigger than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. And then sometimes I'm like, also just behind me, like, I'm also like just an ordinary person. Like, sometimes
you're
like,
nice too. Like, you know
like,
what I mean?
You know, like, I'm a dog mom to my little dog.
Oh yeah,
Freya.
Go on.
I'm a sister. You know, like, I'm now a godmother. So my cousin just had a baby. So I'm a godmother. There's so much more to me. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Than just, that's Róisín. She has that illness. Like,
don't talk to her.
Yeah, like, obviously it's become the focal point of my life because
you deal with it every single day.
I deal with every single day.
You're in pain right now, man.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean? Like, of course.
Well, I want to use, I suppose, my pain in a positive way.
Yeah.
And just try give a voice to a community that I don't think is often listened to enough.
I think you're going to get there.
Do you think so?
Fact.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I think I believe in that. And I think it's also just, it's about figuring out different types of communication until one sticks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the moment that you find what sticks, then it's like, all right, what am I going to do next? And just keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
I mean, I have a trajectory, and like, I do know this is early on in my diagnosis. Like, they say 3 to 5 years is the early stages of trigeminal neuralgia.
What does that mean? Is it going to get worse?
It could possibly get worse, or they just say that it takes 3 to 5 years to kind of adjust to it, to adapt to it.
Ah, okay.
It's also very rare to happen to somebody of my age.
Yeah, I heard, like, my research was, like, usually
Women over 50.
Women over 50, yeah.
So, like, I'm ridiculously young. Like, all of my...
It's like a one-off case, kind of.
Yeah, I think I would be, like, the youngest patient that I know of, anyway.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, yeah, I would be.
It's weird, though, because there was a part of me there where it's like, you're young, you're technically healthier to deal with it, but then it's also like you have so much more time if everything goes well with a general lifetime, you know?
Yeah.
Versus...
Although, my hope there is I have so much longer to find a cure.
Oh, man. I don't know, man. Probably they'll fucking create some lab in Mars or on Mars, and
Like,
you'll just be sent there.
Honestly, Elon Musk, Neuralink, something there. You never
Neuro
know. Yeah.
surgery.
You never know.
Look, I'm sorry. You have a fucking app on your phone.
Yeah.
That, like, makes you think.
It's my back, like, into my back, up to my brain.
Is it like a Bluetooth chip? What is it?
No, it's an actual battery. You have to charge it. Yeah. It's like a battery pack. And you have to, like, actually, I probably should charge it.
No, wait, stop. What do you mean a battery pack? Like,
I have a proper, like, lump of metal in my spine. It's like an...
And do you, like, back it up or something?
charge it wirelessly. Have you ever seen, like, a phone charging wireless?
Yeah.
So you strap this... Well, you don't have to strap it. You can just hold the thing to your back if you want. But it's easier if you're lying in bed to strap it on. Strap this charger to your back and it, like...
So are you essentially, like, plugging yourself in?
Yeah, on,
Gosh.
like, an electric car. Yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
It's weird. Like, like, I have to charge myself every week, literally physically charge myself. And every time I do it, it doesn't get old. I'm like, this is weird. This is the freakiest thing.
Yeah, you feel like such an object.
That's what I was saying earlier about sometimes feeling like you're just this medical science.
Yeah.
I feel like Frankenstein sometimes. I'm like, I've just been poked and prodded and pieces of my skull removed and pieces of my brain poked at.
Plugged in.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think laughing about it as well makes it
you
much
have
easier
to.
cope.
Look, that comes with talking so openly about it, where, like, you show that level of comfort where you're making jokes about it, but you're also welcoming jokes.
Of course, I always let people...
You have to.
Now, if somebody takes it too far, like, sometimes I'll be in a mood and my mum will say something and I'll be like, that's not funny. Do you know, like, and she'll be like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. And I'll be like, no, I'm actually just being moody now. Like, because I generally don't mind people joking about it, you know?
Yeah. There comes a time and place, in fairness.
Yeah, like, every time I have to get my head shaved for surgery or anything, I'm like, oh my God, look at my hair. Like, I'll make a joke out of it.
Do you have to do, like, the undercut? Or
yeah, it's grown out now,
sideways?
so it's little short bits.
Oh,
now.
go
yeah.
on. There you go,
So
stylish.
it's looking good. It's looking good. But no, my hair grows so good. I'm so lucky because it's been shaved about 3 or 4 times in the past year. So I'm so lucky, like, with the hair that I have.
Yeah.
I've lost hair to radiation and everything, and just grows back. Like,
Did you ever consider, like, a full...
I used to have the shortest hair. Yeah, as a teenager, I had both sides shaved and just, like, a tiny bit on top. I don't think I'd do it now. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll, I don't know, test the waters and shake it up a bit.
In fairness, that would probably put you on posters quicker than...
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
no.
Like, branding or something like that.
Yeah.
For sure. Look, in fairness, if that girl got the card for the Transport Ireland,
that's huge.
You know?
That's huge.
I think it just goes back to, again, which outlet, which form of communication is going to work. It's trial and error, you know? Social media isn't going anywhere.
No. And I mean, I'm working consistently with the social media, but also, like, I don't have a large following. I don't want necessarily a large following, do you know? The people that need me find me online, do you know? Yeah. And they reach out to me and I reach out to them and
you figure it out.
It works. And then I run support groups and stuff and online, and then through activism, through the community.
Word of mouth as well.
Word of mouth, yeah. Everybody, yeah. You'll always meet people and say, oh, my cousin has a condition, like, and...
Get me in touch.
Exactly. And I'm like, oh, tell them to message me, like, you know, to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's a great community and there's some fantastic people, and I just think I would have never thought about disabled people until it happened to me. So I just give it a think, and I think this is just one moment, just reflect and think, God, what would it be like if I woke up tomorrow and it turned out that I had an incurable illness and it's with me for the rest of my life? And just ask yourself that question. It's pretty terrifying, actually. Maybe don't ask yourself.
No, you have to.
You do, yeah. Like it could not like the lotto when they say it could be you. Like, but
Yeah.
your chances of getting like a rare disease is higher than you in the lotto.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Like, yeah, I think it's just like, what will you change? Would you be more grateful? Would you be more patient? I don't know. I'm trying to think what I would be.
there's no way knowing.
Yeah.
There is no way knowing.
Yeah.
Because if you had asked me before the illness what way I would have been, I'd be like, oh, I would have been like, you know, I would have been so like I'd be so pessimistic and miserable at the world. It's the opposite. You get this strength down over, and I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going through a spiritual kind of journey at the moment. So at first I thought it was God. I don't know where it came from. You do get this strength, and it is generally it's otherworldly. It's not like a strength I ever knew within myself. It's an outer body kind of strength.
Yeah. It's like all or nothing.
Yeah,
literally
you
all
get
or
the strength,
nothing.
and then you understand how people who have gone through horrific things. People are like, how did they survive that? I understand now. I understand. You get the strength that comes from somewhere.
No, God knows. Maybe that would be the next podcast. Where does it come from?
The meaning of life.
Yeah. This is basically it every time. I think we're good. Are you happy with this conversation? Yeah. Anything else you want to let the people know?
No, I don't think so. My brain, I get this thing called brain fog, so my brain fogs up and I actually don't know what I'm saying or thinking.
Yeah.
And that happened. So once that kicked in, I can't remember that conversation.
Okay, don't worry. It's going to be on record on Take 2 with Deb Shaw.
Everybody is going to hear it. So
exactly. There you go. Tag everyone, share it.
And of course.
Be nice. I think that's it. Be nice to people.
And yourself.
And yourself.
Yeah.
Bingo. Thank you so much, Róisín.
Thank you.
Seems like we're back on start.